Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone in the ISD community. It's Mr. Thomas here, the primary principal at the end of the academic year 2019, looking ahead at next academic year, together with two of our new colleagues who will be joining us in August, September, and Mr. Steve from ISS as well in this meeting. I would like to introduce you to our new director, Mr. Nordness, and later on to Mr. Chris Boyle as well, the new head of secondary. Mr. Nordness, could you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, everybody. Yes, my name is Kurt, and it is a pleasure to meet all of you. I was born here in the Midwest of the United States, where I'm talking to you from right now. And with me in the U.S. is family, my wife, Anne, and two daughters who are located in the U.S. and are out working on their own. But I am also in addition to being a father, a grandfather of two wonderful grandchildren, and it is just a pleasure to be joining all of you. My wife will not be coming and staying with me in Bangladesh this year, but she will be visiting, and so sometime in the fall she'll be joining us, and she looks forward to meeting all of you. And I look forward to having her join us and get to know the ISD community as I look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kurt. I'm sure Anne, your wife, would love meeting us, and we're looking forward to meeting you in person, hopefully indeed in August and September on our campus in Dhaka. Also joined, of course, Mr. Chris Boyle. Mr. Chris Boyle, could I ask you to do the same? Introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure. Thanks, Thomas. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Boyle. Originally from the East Coast of the United States, migrated to Colorado in the mountains for university and my early teaching career as a high school social studies teacher. My first job overseas was in Bangladesh at Pledge Harbor School. Many of you may know Pledge Harbor. That was about 8 years ago now. And after a few years there, the man that hired me to my current position, you just were introduced to, Kurt Nordness, hired me at Dalian American International School, where I've been the secondary principal for the past 6 years. It's been an amazing 6 years, though Kurt and I never got a chance to work together. He was moving on at the time to be the head of school or director at Rifa Views in Bahrain. I'm really looking forward to working with him again, and just personally looking forward to getting back to Bangladesh. I'll be joined by my wife, Tiffany. We've really quite recently married, just in December, and she'll be working in the elementary school in the Learning Center. So I really look forward to being a part of the community.
It'll be wonderful having you there, Chris, and it's very interesting to have a grandfather on one hand joining us and a newly married head of secondary joining us too. I love the diversity that we will have in our leadership team starting in the new academic year. Now, of course, there are some personal introductions, and there would also be some educational introductions, looking at philosophies, looking at leadership styles, looking at who are you as a director, or who are you as a head of school, as head of secondary. Let's go into that a little bit. Kurt, if I could start with you, what do you, if you could describe your philosophy of leadership, how would you do that? How would you describe yourself as a leader?
Yeah, everything about leadership, in my experience, has been maybe less about philosophy and more about what are the needs of the community at the time, because the overarching beliefs that I have is that we can do anything as a school community, particularly one as rich and vibrant as that at ISD. We're able to do anything together. And so that's what I look most forward to, is being a part of the work that has been done, continuing the journey that ISD has begun, and building upon it. Yes, there are. Every school, after a school has been in existence for any amount of time, they have things that they can be proud of and that they've built upon. But at every stage, there's things to deepen our understanding about and build systems and programming around. And so that's really my belief, that wherever a school is, we can be better by looking at what we've done and our belief system, the mission of the school, and taking it from there. and using all of the expertise within the school community to make ourselves even better than we have been.
Wow, Mr. Kurt, I think that's wow, Kurt. I think that's you are correct. In every school there's a lot going on. ISD has a lot going on as well. There's so many positive initiatives and things that are happening in ISD. I'm looking forward to continuing those with you as a new leader, following in the footsteps of our previous processes that we've started in this academic year and the years before. Now, overarching our ISD, our International School Dhaka, is ISS. Steve has joined us in this meeting as well. Steve, could you talk a little bit about the plans, the ideas that you feel are now on ISD's doorstep?
Well, in short, ISS was founded to support schools outside of the US. And that was 60 some years ago, and we continue to do that today. So what ISS does with every school that it works with, it appoints an experienced head of school, someone like myself, to help the school, as Kurt was sharing, to help individual schools continue to improve. So we're committed to continuous sustained improvement. Some things you can do great just at the school level. Sometimes you need a network of support from outside, and that's what ISS does. In the normal life cycle of things, I would be out to Dhaka 4 times a year in conjunction with the board meetings and spend at least a week to 10 days at the school site. And hopefully we'll be able to get back to that cycle very soon.
Yeah. I think that's, of course, on everyone's minds. The pandemic, what does this do to ISS? What about the opening of ISS? When will we get started? I know, Chris, and in your present school, you have some experience with that as well. Could you talk a little bit about that? How that's going now, and how you led that as a leader?
Sure. Being in China, and particularly in Northeast China, we were one of the first regions to close down because of the pandemic. But we were also one of the first to open up. We were about 3 months of online learning for our school before we started welcoming students back in very early May. We did so very gradually with very strict protocols, really following the Chinese guidelines, and then even taking them to a greater degree. And it was challenging to maintain the physical distancing. Lunch is a really big challenge. Certainly everyone is wearing masks at all times, but it was just amazing, those first days of welcoming kids back in school. Just so rejuvenating. You and I know certainly the teaching staff here, it was just a reminder of why we do the job. Online learning was fine. We thought we did a pretty darn good job with it, actually, but it doesn't replace the interactions you get back at school. So we've had a lot of experience and a lot of practice with it. We've developed protocols that are now being used all over China and are spreading throughout the US and other places around the world, and have been really fortunate to not have any instances, lots of temperature checks, lots of masks, and lots of physical distancing, but certainly no cases at school. We finished up school on Friday. It was a tremendous celebration at the end of the year with about 85% of our students returning. We were fortunate to have 99% of our teachers in country. We were able to get them back. Our last set of teachers got in 12 hours before China put in a travel ban, so we feel very fortunate for that. My head of school made a gutsy call to get everybody to come back. So yeah, the situation always remains fluid and requires us to be flexible, but I do feel like we've had a lot of experience through that. And that just came with a lot of communication, a lot of planning, a lot of 11 p.m. meetings because government regulations might have changed at 10 o'clock at night, and we needed to shift and be ready for tomorrow morning and let our parents know and let our teachers know. It was definitely a tough test for our leadership team, but really brought us together and I think brought our school together in the end. So I look forward to maybe contributing a little bit of what we've learned to the ISD team. And hoping we get students face-to-face as soon as we can, whenever it's safe to do so.
May I also jump in and just say that I really see the expertise of not just Chris's school, but ISD and the teachers and the whole staff who have learned a lot about remote learning and done it with just great care and detail. And parents, the feedback you've been giving at the town meetings with the heads of school as well as with the head of school, TJ, excuse me. That feedback has helped us to be better at ISD as well. So for the very first time, the international response to a very serious situation like a pandemic is there are people all over the world that have experience with this. And I think we again need to learn from all of you at ISD as well about what has worked so far. New York Times yesterday had a very good editorial talking about opening schools back up here in the US after the pandemic is going to be guided most and best by parent feedback on how we're doing, what in our planning is meeting your needs. And so we look forward to that. And we need you, teachers who are doing a fantastic job yet because we're continuing with our remote learning, and parents as well. We need you in our continued work to keep students safe until a vaccine is found.
I think it's very, very well said. Thank you very much, Kurt. I think that's the follow-up that, you know, if we look at Chris's experience, I think our team will really be a strong team looking ahead at, okay, what can we expect? How can we involve parents? What do we want to do with our students? And how can we do this in a safe way, as safe a way as possible, and set out those plans over the summer? Now, we don't have those plans in place yet. Do you see that as a thing that we have to finish before the academic year, Kurt? Do you think, or do we think we should finish or create our plans over the summer break? How do you see that happening as a new captain of the ship, so to speak?
Yeah, the planning has already started, and thank heaven for the work that our community has done, both teachers and parents, in figuring this out so far. But it will look different, as Chris has pointed out now. The rollout plan for the fall is going to look different, and the work has begun in understanding what is happening worldwide, and particularly in international schools, in order to do this. So it will be invaluable, Chris, for you to bring along those guidelines that your school has used. But I also point out the obvious, and that is that the plan that we have in one place in Poughkeepsie, New York, or in Dalian, China, will look different in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And so, yes, the work will continue this summer, Thomas. You and Chris and I have been meeting over the last month quite frequently, and that will now continue on as we examine how to keep students safe, how to conduct a virtual onboarding for our new staff, and how to bring all staff together in orientation activities so that we're ready to go to serve students on day one.
Yeah, good. Excellent. And I'm looking forward to that day one, as everyone else is indeed. As Chris said, a school without kids or a school with online students is, okay, it's the second best thing maybe, but opening our school again for the students to come in is going to be, in whatever way or form, is going to be a relief indeed for all of us. Chris, I asked Kurt a little while ago to talk a little bit about his philosophy, about his way of leading the whole school. I'd like to ask you the same. Could you tell us a little bit about how you have led schools before and how you intend to be the leader of our beautiful secondary school in ISD?
Sure. I definitely model myself in a servant leadership mold. You know, I think the most important part of my job is to serve the teachers who really are the front lines and ultimately serve the students and the parents as well. And so I just approach every day as an opportunity to serve and to help. And so, you know, that means it never being about me or my ego, but being about whatever is going to help serve the teachers, serve the schools, serve the community, in order to make it a better place. I love building teams. I think that's probably what I'm most proud of here at DIS is really hiring fantastic people and building a really strong secondary leadership team, which is my assistant principal and my curriculum leaders, my head of English as an additional language, because we have a lot of language learners here. I look forward to those meetings, and as the rest of you know, as school leaders, meetings are a big part of our life, and they're not always super enjoyable. But that's what I look forward to every week, because we've just built such a strong bond. Shared vulnerability, and the ability to call each other out when we need to, and support each other. So I lead from a team first mentality and a servant mentality, and just like to be positive and fun. Love to get to know the kids. I've got about 464 students here now. Proud that I know all of their names and can say hi to them every day. And I'm social. I like to lead by getting to know people beyond just the professional part of work, so that we can have some real conversations and get to know each other in the hallways.
That sounds great. That sounds great, Chris. I'm looking forward to working with you. Steve, what Chris says is that he likes to work with the team, and is the team going to be the same next year? Steve, I know, and I would like us to share this with the parents and the teachers who are watching this video. Are all the teachers coming back? Do we have any changes in that?
Well, before, I'd like to just comment on what Chris just said about being a servant leader, because that's one of the joys of doing what I do now. Having worked in international schools since 1975, and as the head of 6 of them, I had the opportunity now to use my experience, the good experiences and the bad ones, to be able to share those with my colleagues, and hopefully they won't make the same mistakes or can build on top of things that I've learned along the way. So, Chris, I really appreciate that servant leader perspective. Staffing. So, Thomas, my understanding is that there are about 17 new staff coming in, if I've got that number correct. And that is pretty typical in the normal cycle of international schools, and a change in the teaching professionals. Usually the local support staff is there long term, and if there are any changes there, there'd be very few that I've heard of going forward. So I think you can expect a lot of the same team, a lot of fresh blood at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I heard a bit of a concern from some parents saying, are all the teachers coming back? Are they really, going to join again in Bangladesh, in Dhaka? And, being part of ISD means that you want to be there as well. I'm very happy that we've managed to have Kurt and Chris join us in the way that they are. There's one little question that I do also have. Kurt, maybe I'll ask you first. Why didn't you come and visit us? Why didn't you come around and check us out in Dhaka? We could have offered you a cup of tea or anything. Just why didn't you?
This is a very different transition than ISD has experienced previously, or that any international school has. I had a month planned. Steve and I had been working together for me to spend much of the month of May in Bangladesh and at the school, and meeting people, meeting students first and foremost, the teachers and the parents, and for us really to get to know one another. I've spent time getting to know the school through individual meetings and through multiple readings of the policy manual and handbooks and that type of thing. But I will tell you that that's the part that I missed. And I dare say that it's a part that felt a little bit like a hole in not being able to make those personal connections. But we will catch up. And we will continue the relationship building. I hope very, very soon, August, the school start is scheduled for September 13th for students to be there, teachers a couple weeks before that. And my intent is, if visas have been issued by then, that I would be coming in early August, late July, somewhere in there. But so that's coming up next month already. But we'll just have to see and let things play out. And thank you for that question, because I do acknowledge that this has been a very unusual type of a transition. And I so appreciate the chance to do this today, Thomas. So thanks for convening us.
Good. I think that's a very valid answer indeed. We kind of missed you there. We missed Chris too, but I really understand why you couldn't join us in May, because we wouldn't even have been there ourselves, as in not on campus. So I get that. Okay, I think what we want to do is say thank you very much to Chris, Steve, and Kurt for joining us. This message is going out to all of you, parents and teachers, in order to at least see and hear the new leaders of both secondary school and the whole school. And hopefully, indeed, we'll meet each other in August on campus as staff, and on the 13th of September, because that is true, Kurt, that's the starting day for students. There's a new calendar that's been created, that's going out this week. And Mr. TJ is going to share that with us about when the new start of the academic year is, to keep everything leveled up for that start together. Okay. Thank you very much, Kurt. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Steve. And see you all in September or August.
Have a safe summer, everybody. Look forward to meeting you.
Bye-bye.
Can't wait to get started. Thank you.